Perfect. Got it. Okay, sorry. Doing it on my phone this morning because my computer decided to not turn on. So wonderful. Okay. Wonderful. So everyone, welcome to Coffee with DC Alaska edition. I am really looking forward to speaking with you all about this incredible destination. Do you mind going to the next slide, Layla? Perfect. So just want to introduce kind of who's on the call for everybody. So I'll start with myself. My name's Lynn. I'm a travel specialist at Discover Corps. I have been working here for over 2 years now, fitting people into, the right trip. We work in over 20 different destinations, so there's a lot to dive into, and that's why we love these opportunities to use Coffee with DC to dive deeper into the destination, get to know the itinerary and some of our team members on the ground in the actual country. But I am from Canada originally. I live in Costa Rica. I've been here for about 6 years. Another destination we operate in, and actually just got to meet up with Layla on the ground on Saturday in Costa Rica. She did one of our trips out here. So, and then I got to go to Alaska with Layla last year as well. So it's a huge privilege. We didn't actually get to meet Rosemary in person, so thrilled to meet you live here now, Rosemary, and excited to dive deeper into this trip and getting to know each other better. But I will hand it over to Layla for an introduction as well.
Yes, hello. So my name is Layla. I'm originally from Los Angeles, but based out of Oregon at the moment. And like Lynn mentioned, I was just in Costa Rica on one of our trips and also got to meet up with Lynn, so that was very nice. And I've been working with DC for about a year now, but actually used to work for their student travel sector. So it's been great to be still with Terra Education and Discover Corps as a whole. As she mentioned, I am a coordinator, so I coordinate for the Alaska trip, but also some other destinations like Bali, Vietnam, Egypt, Costa Rica, just to name a few. So I'm here once you are signed up for a trip. I will help you with any questions you might have about that destination. And yeah, that is me.
Awesome. Thanks, Layla. Amazing. And I'll hand it over to you, Rosemary, for an introduction as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rosemary McCarr. I am originally from Fairbanks, Alaska, which is right in the center of the state. And I currently live in Anchorage, Alaska, which we're down in South Central, which is one of the cities that will be highlighted on our Alaska trip with Discover Corps. I have worked in many different facets of tourism over my career. And now really enjoying doing some of the Alaska operations for Discover Corps and being here on the ground. I tried to choose a picture that had some glacier there in the background to get everyone excited about some of the things that you can see while you're here. But yep, I love Alaska, everything outdoors, the tourism here, and I'm excited to see some of you up here in our great state.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Rosemary. Can you go next, Layla? Awesome. Yeah, so for anyone who's on the call, I do see some familiar names, maybe some of our alumni, but for anyone who is new to Discover Corps and is just kind of checking us out, we have been operating for over a decade, these what we like to call unforgettable vacations with purpose. And we actually operate in over 20 different countries around the world. So as mentioned, this is a great opportunity to learn more about specific destinations. I threw in this photo of all of us in Seward, Alaska. Again, our boss, Angela Bailey, who again, some of you on the call might have received emails or might recognize her name. She's from Seward. And so we had the great privilege to go out as a team with our CEO and our director and all of our pre-departure coordinators and visit her out there. And this is right on the dock, right in front of her family's like fishing company as well. So very, very cool, and just really excited to share some photos from our trip and also some photos from other people's experiences as well. So all the photos you see here are from the team. You can go next, Layla. Perfect. So I'm gonna interview Rosemary here, since she's a local and can give us the real insights on specifically our itinerary. Uh, I think for many people, um, people think of going on like an Alaskan cruise, but our trip is a little bit different, right? It's more of a land itinerary, which is a very unique way to explore a place. Again, especially like Alaska. And so I want to start it off with that, letting everyone know that, this is a land-based itinerary, but it's not to say that you're not going to see all of these amazing animals. And of course, we can't guarantee animal sightings, but I would love to hear, what can people possibly see when they go to Alaska with our itinerary, Rosemary?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So, some of the focusing, I know this picture in front of us has quite a few of our fun marine wildlife. Focusing first on some of our land mammals that can be seen.
Mhm.
We have moose, and we also do, albeit a little more seldom, there is chance of seeing brown and black bears. Now, the primary area in which you would see at least the moose and maybe those bears, if you're really lucky, is on that train, the Alaska Railroad portion of the itinerary, which is a really cool and unique area. That particular train, the Glacier Discovery train, does go in an area that is not accessible by cars or any road service. So I've done that one a handful of times. I've seen the butt end of a moose. I've seen the whole moose. I haven't seen a bear yet, albeit I have had travelers who have. So those are some of the land mammals that we're trying to see. And then, of course, when we're talking about marine wildlife, I think probably the most exciting one would be the humpback whale or maybe the orcas. Of course, those
Mhm.
aren't every time, but on the boat cruise at Kenai Fjords National Park, that is going to be your best opportunity to see whales in this area. We use it's a smaller boat. And so it gives you opportunities to see those mammals hopefully in the water. For me personally, one of my favorite marine wildlife you can see is the doll porpoise. So it is
Yes.
similar to a
We
dolphin
got
that you
to
may
see it.
see.
It's so
Oh, yay.
beautiful. Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was a huge highlight on our trip out in the bay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just they're very fun and playful, so I really enjoy sighting those. But all of the animals you can see in this slide are certainly animals that you can see on this itinerary, and some of those highlighted things like those sea stars in that photo. You get a chance to visit the Sea Life Center, which is an amazing center for marine wildlife studies and reintroduction and recuperation for animals. And so those sea stars and other animals like that. I think those puffins as well are from the Sea Life Center, and that's a really wonderful opportunity to see marine wildlife on this itinerary.
Awesome. Yeah, and those sea otters are like when we were on Resurrection Bay, we saw them so many times. It was so cute with their little feet up and like always usually, just snacking on something interesting. So it's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a fun opportunity for sure. Can you go to the next slide, Layla? Perfect. And so we include the Alaska Native Heritage Center on this itinerary and also the Homestead family dog sledding. So I'm curious, why are these sort of important elements in the itinerary, especially to connect with like the culture of Alaska and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking first, the Alaska Native Heritage Center, this is a really, really fantastic center. And we have five distinct Alaska Native groups within our state. There are many subsections of that as well. But this Alaska Native Heritage Center is not specific just to our Alaska Native peoples of South Central, but rather of the entire state. So it gives a really fantastic overview of our Alaska Native culture and history. Alaska Native history and culture is such a huge part of being an Alaskan and living here. And I also think what's really cool about their center in particular is they do a lot of community work. Something I really like is that many of the guides that you will have when you're there, or people working there, they do a wonderful internship with Alaska Native youth that are in high school to get them prepared to be working, or maybe get them interested and excited about tourism. And this is just such a wonderful way for them to practice public speaking and get to interact with adults. And I really love it. It's so great to hear when kids have been there for 5, 6, 7 years and are now working full time at the Native Heritage Center. I think it's just a wonderful opportunity. We always strive to have more diversity in tourism in this state, and I think this is just a great way. And it's just a really cool center. They have absolutely fantastic cultural exhibits with a lot of really cool art. And so it's really exciting for people of all ages. I think, I enjoyed, I've been there many, many times. Kids, all the, our littlest adventures all the way up to grandma and grandpa. I think it's a really, really cool center, and it's indoor and outdoor, which is neat. And I think with the CVs, I think this kind of leads into it. I mean, dog sledding is, oh my gosh, when you think of Alaska, you think of dog sledding, right? This is something that's so part of our culture, and it comes from our Alaska Native people. Dog sledding was something that was used by Alaska Natives historically as a mode of transportation. Many of, over about 75% of our state is not road accessible. So pre-snow machines or snowmobiles and, those motorized means of transportation, Alaska Native people were using dog sleds. And, now that's really come into being our statewide sport. The CV family has been a huge part of the Iditarod race, which is our 1,000-mile sled dog race from the very inception of the race. Mitch's dad, Mitch CV's father was one of the original mushers in the Iditarod. Mitch CV has won the Iditarod, I think 5 times. And then his son Dallas has won 6 times. So it's just a really cool, I think these two things really combine for our past cultural history and more of our present cultural preservation of that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it was so interesting getting to visit and learn about the history of the Iditarod. And yeah, they're champions. And I think it's, an important discussion to talk about how, there are these sort of movements that still exist to preserve that history, and sure, adapt it to current day, like with the Iditarod still being something that goes on. And love to experience that one day. It's just such a cool experience.
Yes.
Layla, you
and of
can
course
go
the
next.
puppies.
Oh yeah, they're so cute. And it's so funny. I will say, like when we arrived, I'll never forget. They were like, you might see our dogs, and like, of course, they're exercising. Like these are like incredible beings. And they're like, you might think our dogs are skinny, but we might think your dogs are fat at home because, like, of course, like the animals are just so active, and you can see just like really how happy they are as well. That was something like personally, like, just not knowing what this experience would like with animals, and just trying to do it in the most like ethical way as possible.
Yes.
But after being there, you realize that this is like cultural preservation, and these are like active animals that absolutely love being outdoors, and kind of showcasing this experience for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you spoke to it a little bit already with the Alaskan Sea Life Center, but I'm curious, how do visiting these centers, and also the Wildlife Conservation Center, support efforts of conservation and preservation, similarly to what you were speaking earlier about a little bit more when it comes to animals and wildlife.
Sure. And, animal welfare is such an important part of Discover Corps, and such an important part of, being in Alaska and treating our animals with respect. And I think the Alaska Sea Life Center and the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Centers are just the best example of that you can find in the state. The Sea Life Center, and I won't go too much into the details because I won't take, you're going to learn these things. Your wonderful guide's going to explain a little more of this on the ground here. But the Sea Life Center was born out of the Exxon Valdez oil spill. So when that happened here in Alaska, they started, cleaning these animals, but they realized they didn't really have the studies and they didn't have the numbers to find out what happened with these animals that they cleaned and how it affected and impacted the environment. And it did take a while to get to the Sea Life Center to what it is today, but that was really born out of this necessity to study and know more about our marine wildlife in this state and in South Central Alaska. They just do an amazing job. The education, they work in conjunction with our UA system. And so being a part of this and experiencing this, this helps organizations like the Sea Life Center continue the great work they do on the preservation and preservation education, and then of course the reintroduction when possible of these animals. I feel that it's although it didn't come from the Exxon Valdez oil spill, the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center is similar. Their goals are to promote education of the wild spaces. And then, of course, to reintroduce the animals when they can. The Wildlife Conservation Center is home to many animals that are injured or otherwise could not live in the wild at this time.
Mhm.
If there are abilities to do reintroduction, they do, and that's something you'll learn about there. The wood bison is something that was successfully reintroduced. An entire species of animals was reintroduced in Alaska and is thriving. And I just think this is a really, really cool way to experience our wildlife in the most natural setting, especially at the Wildlife Center, as
Mhm.
possible, and to promote that healthy relationship and educate our youth. These are both programs that work very closely with our school district and school programs throughout the state.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's such a beautiful opportunity to see wildlife close up, but like you said, in the most like ethical way, and that actually contributes to education, which is a what we advocate for at Discover Corps. Absolutely. So, at Discover Corps, we're very passionate about employing local guides, that can provide this sort of insider behind the scenes knowledge. So I'm curious about, who our Alaskan guides are and kind of what they can contribute to the experience. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So we really focus and, with Discover Corps, on making sure that all of the guides for Discover Corps are year-round Alaskans. And that might seem crazy because you live somewhere and you're like, of
Mhm.
course I'm year-round of wherever I live. But in Alaska, we are an incredibly seasonal state.
Mhm.
We do have a huge boost of tourism in our summer months when it's sunny, well, sometimes sunny and beautiful
Mhm.
out. And so what that means is we get a lot of people, what we call from outside. Outside means from anywhere else outside of the state of Alaska, which is absolutely fantastic, and we welcome them. But for Discover Corps, what is really important is to have a year-round Alaskan guide. Now, what that really does for you as a traveler is it allows you to learn about life that's outside of the June, July, or August month you're here. Find out, pick their brain. What is it like to be in December when you have 4 hours of light during the day? What is it like? Many of our guides have lived very, very interesting and exciting Alaskan lives all over the state. So of course they have incredible amount of knowledge of the things you're seeing and experiencing on the ground. But I really feel like that year-round component leads to a more broad understanding and just really cool experience for the travelers, for US travelers while you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it was very interesting to sort of meet locals when we were there in September, so it was kind of like as the season was closing up, and the stores, just like I stayed a little bit longer past our trip with Discover Corps in Seward, and just like kind of watching the town go into like what felt like hibernation, and of course you have those like certain areas that stay open, but sometimes you would see like we laughed like we went to one pub one day and then the next day at another restaurant and it was the same worker. It's
Yes.
like that small town, like local vibes that you get to experience. And yeah, it really is a unique place. And you're right, everyone does have some epic stories when you start to talk to people, and most people are quite the adventurers, even if they work at a bar or a pub or whatever, they have some sort of story that you'll want to hear about. Absolutely. You can go next, Layla. So you kind of mentioned it, like a lot of the places that we go to, can be appropriate for the youngins, but also the grandparents. And we've seen a lot of multi-generation sort of groups go out to, or we've sent out to Alaska. But I'm curious, is this trip suitable for everyone all around?
So that's a really wonderful question. So families, yes. I think maybe some of our youngest adventurers and youngest travelers, maybe under the age of 8 or 5, there are some days that are a little bit longer. So I would say, as parents, if you have little ones under the age of 8, do take a look at how Discover Corps has those days lined out. We want to make
Mhm.
sure that mom and dad and grandma and grandpa are also enjoying themselves. And sometimes those longer days can be a little bit harder on our littlest travelers. But,
Sure.
not to say that it's not something they can do. People know their own children. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, in terms of fitness level, I would say this is a mild to moderate fitness level trip. The one biggest thing that stands out to me is that really, really cool train trip out to Spencer Glacier. So the train
Hmm.
itself is ADA accessible, but you do have a walking component. It is a 1.3 mile walk to the glacier. You have plenty of time, and you have a little bit of time out there, and then you walk back. To be clear, this is, I would say, pretty flat. No notable incline or decline. It's a very wide trail, and it is a national forest area. The trail is very well maintained with small gravel on it. I would not say that it would be fully ADA accessible. I have certainly seen families with little ones in strollers on it, and things like that. But just do keep in mind, so that would be 2.6 miles round trip walking at a leisurely pace. And there are benches throughout that. But I think that's probably going to be the longest time of walking on this itinerary. I would also note that the hotel in Anchorage is a boutique bed and breakfast style, and could have one flight of stairs to your room, and it does not have an elevator. So there is some level. So maybe I'm not sure if there's an exact categorization, but I would call that probably mild to moderate. So and we can always discuss if people have specific mobility restriction questions.
Perfect. No, that's super helpful, Rosemary. Great point on the lodging as well. All of those little details. We, tried to vet families or individuals on the phone before booking you so that you do have all of this information as well. But I do agree. I think this itinerary for an 8-year-old and above is really appropriate. They can really take advantage and soak up all of the information being thrown at them. But yeah, our trips, we don't accept any child younger than 6. So just for everyone on the call to note that as well. But again, I think an 8-year-old is great. But like you mentioned, Rosemary, you know your kids. And so if you have any other like more detailed questions, you can always reach out to us after as well. Can go next, Layla. Perfect. Yeah, so you kind of already mentioned the Glacier Discovery Train experience, but also on day 6 we have these optional kind of like adventure styles that people can do, and we let people know this, but I'm curious, kind of if you can speak to those optional activities.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. So yeah, I'm sorry I jumped ahead Lynn, on the train,
That's
but
okay. No, it's perfect.
yes. So we kind of talked a little bit about the train already, so I won't go too much more into that. And yes, so the optional activities: kayaking, zip lining, glacier hiking, and fishing. Yes, they are all really wonderful options. So they do have a varying level of physical ability for them. I would say
Hmm.
probably the fishing is probably going to be the least. You do need to be able to, um, actually, that's not true. You can be seated. So I'd say the fishing is pretty mild. So this is fishing depending on the day of the week. This is either going to be targeting salmon or halibut. We do have restrictions on days of the week for halibut, and times throughout the summer. So those are going to be deep sea fishing. primarily these are going to be what's called catch and keep, meaning that afterwards you get the option to process your fish for an additional fee, and then you can send that home, which is what most guests do, or pardon me, which most travelers do. So that is an option for fishing. I would say that's suitable. Yeah, 8 and up is just fine for that one. And then, so kayaking, ziplining, glacier hiking, this is where we get a little more, needing a little more physical ability. The kayaking, I actually went on this particular kayaking trip with my aunt and uncle and my husband 2 summers ago, and it's a great trip. So it combines kayaking and a light hike. Which is really cool. So you get to be out on the water. You're kayaking. I believe it's 3 to 5 miles is the average. So you spend some time on the water, and then and that is broken up. To be clear, you're not kayaking 5 miles nonstop. And as you can see, if you're not familiar with what kayaking is, that is going to be that movement, like in that picture where your arms are over. So people with shoulder issues is probably not the best tour for them because you are going to be using a little bit of your upper body. The hike is really depends on what the weather and how far you make it. So when we went on this really cool kind of trail to a waterfall. There's lots of different options. There's the beautiful beach. You get to walk along the beach along the water, and the guides there are just really fantastic. I love this particular kayaking guiding company. They're women owned. A lot of their guide, they have about 50% female to male guide ratio, which is unusual in adventure tourism here in our state. So that's a really cool thing about them. And so I think that one's more, I would say, of a moderate, but my aunt and her husband, although I would say they're in pretty good shape, they're in their 70s and did just fine on that for just a frame of reference. And then the ziplining, probably less of a physical activity. You do need to be comfortable kind of getting up those ladders and things like that. And of course, seated into the harness. Many people, maybe you've heard of ziplining in other parts of the world. Costa Rica is a big ziplining. So again, this is going to be when you're connected to that cable and going across. And this is really in this beautiful, the temperate rainforest that we do have here in South Central. And then that glacier hiking, I'll end on that. That is going to be your certainly your most extreme. I say that because it does take a lot of physical activity. You are doing a pretty steep incline, and then you are crossing an alpine terrain. Alpine is the high points in the mountain. And then you're getting to the glacier itself. All of the safety, the crampons, the helmets, they provide all of that. They're fully glacier trained. It's a really wonderful company. I do believe it is actually the only company that has the permit and insurance to work on this glacier. So if you're up for getting, they even have in their description, you're going to get sweaty. If you're up for getting sweaty and getting out there and really experiencing it, it is phenomenal. Exit Glacier is found within the Kenai Fjords National Park, which is a really cool special extra thing about that. But certainly if you are interested in that one, please get with Lynn. I can help her on my side, or pardon me, with Layla, to just see if that physicality is something that you guys are ready for.
That is awesome, Rosemary. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, definitely. I think it's nice to have the opportunity to choose your own adventure and see what feels like, how you kind of want to end the trip. But yeah, that glacier hike sounds amazing. I just did the Kenai Fords, like just typical kind of like one when I stayed a little bit longer. But I would have loved a more intense hike like that. That sounds just incredible. Yeah, getting to experience it a little bit more up close and personal. I would love to talk about the culinary delights in Alaska. I mean, the food ended up being such a big highlight for me when I was there. So would love for you to speak to it for a minute as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably the first thing you're going to think of when you think of Alaska is seafood. And we certainly do have a lot of that. And that's especially true in Seward, where Anchorage and Seward are both coastal communities. Seward is going to give you Anchorage, we're a beautiful, wonderful, vibrant city where you're not going to get quite as much of that coastal feel. Seward, on the other hand, is going to give you that small town, fishing town, coastal community. And with that, both communities, though, you do see a lot of seafood on the menus. So things like salmon, we have wild caught Alaskan salmon that we offer, which if you've never had wild caught salmon, it tastes completely different than some of the salmon that you buy in the store, the farm's salmon. And in addition to salmon, halibut is a really big thing on the menu here. Halibut is a very large white fish, and it's very nice. If salmon's a little too fishy for you, halibut is a much more mild flavor. And then also you will see king crab, although I would note that we've had quite a lot of closures on king crab seasons. So you will see less of that on menus. That is not because people don't like it. That's rather just because we've had some restrictions as that that they're letting them reproduce more before they reopen that. So you will see more snow crab on menus rather than the king crab. But all of that is to say lots and lots of wonderful seafood and a lot of really just cool locally owned restaurants. If you don't eat seafood, it's okay. We have plenty of options. We have people from all over. You know, Alaska, you might think, oh, you're so remote and all of this, but we people, with the exception, of course, of our Alaska Native population, everyone here came from somewhere. So that really creates a really vibrant culinary scene with all different people coming from all different parts of, you know, the United States and the world that influences what we have to eat here.
Yeah, wow, it is true. And I even joke that I got like really, really good ramen in Anchorage when I was there. So there really is just everything. But just so beautiful. And I love the locally owned spaces for sure as well that we get to visit. So yeah, huge highlight to look forward to for the food for anybody going. Um, and you spoke a little bit to the accommodations, but like throughout the whole itinerary, you know, what can people expect for the style of accommodations that we're going to be staying at?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And so you will be staying at two different properties on this itinerary in Anchorage and then in Seward. And those are shown on those pictures. The one on the left-hand side is the Anchorage property, and the one on the middle is the Seward property. And on the far right is one of the beds in the Anchorage property. So the Anchorage property, the Copper Whale Inn, this is locally owned and operated. It's woman owned. It's incredibly LGBTQ friendly, which we really love about this property. And I know that's something that's also highlighted on a lot of Discover Core's trips. And so it's just a fantastic. I know that you see from the outside, and you're like, this looks like this tiny place. No, inside, I'm telling you, all of the rooms have been very carefully and tastefully redone. They all have Alaska themes, which is cool, but not in a cheesy Alaskana way. They're all very tasteful, very nice. So recently redone. The bedding is really great. I just one quick funny story. We recently had a guest a traveler that actually just took one of the pillows from the Copper Whale on the rest of her trip. Please don't take the pillows. But she said, "Oh, it was so comfy. I just figured I'd bring it back at the end."
Oh no.
But all this to say, it's very homey, and the breakfast there is lovely. They have kind of Continental doesn't do it justice. It's a very like grab and go, but nice continental breakfast. Lots of options if you have dietary restrictions and things like that. And yeah, it's really great. Overall, I really enjoy it, and we stay there when we do conferences and things too. Then moving over to the Harbor 360, I mean, you see that picture, you can't beat that location, right? It's right on the small boat harbor in Seward. It's right where your wonderful Kenai Fjords National Park boat cruise departs from. It's super convenient. This is going to be more of your standard hotel experience, so it will have an elevator, 24-hour front desk, things like that. This is the location that we as Alaskans go to on our long weekends. We go to it has a little tiny pool, so if you have kids, that's something that's a very big highlight for us as Alaskans with kids. But it's wonderful. It's locally owned, and I would just, another reason is that really makes it special for Discover Core itinerary is both these properties are year round. Seward especially has a huge influx of seasonal employment, but which leaves a lot of the people that are in the town that without a job in the winter. But Harbor 360 is open year round, which is really great because it's a pillar of their community and their economy. And the rooms are great. The location's great.
Yeah, it is right there. It's so true. When we were there, we like got like on our boat right in front of there. So the convenience is awesome, and the views are also beautiful all around, as you can see. But right in front of those windows as well. Perfect. So I mean, we obviously have very particular dates for this experience, and so maybe you can speak to that best time to travel. Of course, as you mentioned, it can be, possible that you visit Alaska outside of these dates, but maybe you can speak to why we go during the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So these dates, so late June and then through the beginning of August, these are really going to be your best. So your best times for your marine wildlife are whales, are humpback whales, and many of our orcapods. They do migrate. So this is going to be your best chance to see your some of those migratory marine wildlife. So the very beginning of May and that September time, most of those animals aren't here yet, which I know that the whales are always a huge part. This is also going to be your best time for best chance of dry weather. Weather
Hmm.
in Alaska is super every single day. It changes, and it changes even throughout the day. But on a very general speaking, those are going to be our driest, hottest months. And as we get into later into August, that's actually our fall. I know that sounds crazy if you guys are in the lower 48 or visiting us from other parts of the world. That might be your hottest part of your summer, but for Alaska especially, um, in the interior and a little bit down here, that's late August is fall. So these are really your hottest, driest dates, hopefully also your best for those migratory marine wildlife. And this is going to be kind of what we consider our peak summer season.
Okay. Yeah, I know, that's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. It is really a different place that I don't think people realize, what a different climate, or like those hours of the sun too. So it's nice. I feel like the summer is definitely the best time to go. But it's also a busy time of the year. So I love to take this opportunity to mention, we have clearly limited dates. As you can see, our first June date is already considered full. So we do really recommend, if anybody is considering, booking these trips, the sooner in advance, the better for us, so that we can just get those rooming holds right away from the hotels. As you can imagine, again, Anchor or Alaska is huge, but our hotel capacity can be small in these little boutique style hotels that we do stay at. So it's really important that you let us know when you're hoping to travel, even if it's into 2026. I added the 2026 dates already, because I know for those planners, it would be good to know when the start date is. So perfect. Would you go next, Layla? Wonderful. So I'll actually hand it over to Layla for this part, just to talk about the pre-departure support one will have once you sort of work with me to fit you into the right trip and right trip date. Then there is this handover to Layla.
So once you have signed up for your trip to Alaska, I will help you out with any questions you may have, but you'll also have access to our travel portal, what it looks like. So as you can see, Alaska's at the top. It is quite a straightforward destination as it's in the United States. So you obviously don't need a visa or anything like that. But there's a lot of resources about, for example, travel windows. So when you should be booking your flights, what time, things like that. And there is also some fun information about, for example, books on Alaska. So if you wanted some history on Alaska before you go there, or just there's some interesting, there's a book, I forget the name of it, but it's about a dog that very famously ran the Iditarod race. So good books for kids as well. So great resources, but of course you can always call in and ask any questions or email any questions you have as well.
Yeah, perfect. Definitely. We always include a really great packing list for all of our trips too. And having been there ourselves as well, we make sure that you guys do come prepared with everything so that you can have the best experience possible. Next. This is, I think I included a slide so everyone can see what's actually there. So of course the itinerary, again, the flight information, your accommodations, the breakdown, and that weather and packing list and more. Go ahead to next. Perfect. So I will open it up for questions for everyone. So if you do want to throw your questions in the chat for any of us, we'd be more than happy to answer your questions. But in the meantime, while you're maybe thinking about those questions, I wanted to just mention what's all included, because I know that's often top of mind for people. So in Discover Core, again, we always have that local guide who's going to be with you throughout the whole length of your stay. And then there's also these sort of step-on guides that come on, maybe when we're at the Sea Life Center or in various activities. But you can definitely expect that sort of consistent guide that's pick up and drop off at the airport, and really all of your admissions as well in between, that is included. And that reliable transportation piece. So we do small group travel at Discover Core. For example, that June date, we capped the trip at 11 people. We can have capacity to go a little bit larger than that, but I would say on average, our group size is around 8 to 10 people. So that's something to keep in mind as well, especially again when it comes to capacity for the trips. But yeah, what's not included, that's is your internet or not international, I guess, in this case, but your airfare to Alaska, which can be an adventure for many people to get out there. I know for myself, coming from Costa Rica, it was. And then, of course, traveler's insurance, any sort of laundry, service fees when it comes to the room, your alcoholic beverages at your meals, and then any sort of gratuity for the guides and drivers, which we do have recommended amounts. But yes, that's what is included. I don't know if there's any questions coming in here. Let me just see. Okay, nothing at the moment. Yeah, feel free to write in anything in the chat right now. If we don't receive any, I will just let everyone know again that our email is info@discovercore.com. So you can always email in if you have any questions. And of course, you can find our number online and you can schedule a time to talk with one of us, and we would be more than happy to work with you. It says chat is disabled. Huh. See that. That's a little strange, especially if I'm able to see your message. This is interesting. Let me see here. Okay, I don't see anything on my end that would say why the chat is disabled. Hopefully that's not the case for y'all. Let me see. Maybe could I get you, Layla, to just type in the chat our email just in case anybody is on the call that does have a question? Sorry, everyone.
No,
Oh, I think
so
it's
the
working.
travel.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Somebody had written in the chat is disabled, but somebody else wrote, I think it is working. Yeah. Q&A is open, not the chat. Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah, so Q&A, the open chat is disabled for these webinars, but Q&A you can ask. So feel free to just type it in directly to the Q&A. You can stop sharing your screen too, Layla, if you want. Perfect. Well, everyone, I don't think that anybody has any questions, but as mentioned, you can definitely email us. And I just want to take a moment to thank our wonderful co-host, Rosemary, for joining us from Alaska. Really appreciate your insight. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and it's just it adds so much to actually have locals on the call and be able to speak to these details of the experience. And yeah, just thank you so much for joining us, and Layla as well. Thanks for all of your support when it comes to pre-departure and helping everyone get prepared for this adventure. We're excited about this summer, and yeah, sending more people down to Alaska.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, both of you ladies, for organizing everything. And I look forward to having some more travelers to Alaska and experiencing this wonderful state and all of the great nature, culture, and everything in between that we have to offer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I just want to make
Thank
sure that
you.
there's thank you. Price points online. Sorry, Rosemary, you can
Nope.
leave us. Thanks again for joining.
Thanks, ladies.
Sorry. Just saw a question in here in the end. Price points are online. Yeah, absolutely. I can also pull up for everyone the pricing. Let's see here. Let's see. Just while I have everyone here. course, my computer is not working for me today. Layla, do you mind just letting everyone know the pricing?
Yes, I can take a look. It's on our website, and of course, I put the info at discovercore.com email, so you can also reach out to us directly for any questions you may have. Sorry, we were just having some technical issues this morning, so
Yeah, this
I
morning.
do
Apologies, I'm
apologize.
joining on my phone, everyone. So thank you for
Yeah,
your patience.
and I'm definitely not the tech master, so there's that. Um, just looking how to share my screen.
Yeah, you can even just mention it. No worries.
And
Oh,
here's
perfect.
just on our website, so the
Okay, awesome.
prices. I can just scroll to the bottom to show a little bit more as well.
Amazing. Mhm. Perfect. Yeah, right there. So if everyone scrolls a little bit, you'll be able to see the dates and prices, and again, the what's included, what's not included. So it's all very clear for everyone. And also, as you can see on the website, there is our phone number. There's also a schedule a call, which is a great tool. It books you a 15-minute session with rather myself or somebody else in the sales team, so that we can go over any of your kind of personal questions. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much again for your time. Really hoping everyone has a great rest of their week. And thank you again, Rosemary and Layla, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.